Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, High Commissioner, Chairperson of the Working Group and the members of the Working Group, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. It is my pleasure to address you this morning on behalf of the Director General of ILO, Gilbert Hungbo, who unfortunately couldn't join us this morning. Let me join the call by both Volker as well as Sandra to thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your drive. Thank you for your passion. And I'm sure these 2-3 days ahead with an incredibly rich agenda will take this agenda forward. The ultimate objective of the promotion of the guiding principles is effective protection and promotion of human rights in business operations and access to remedy for victims, thus contributing to the achievement of SDGs. The smart mix of measures, as outlined in the global principles, is crucial for achieving this goal. As ILO, we have observed that governments have taken and are taking measures in several policy areas, although not with the same intensity, aim, and focus. National action plans on business and human rights have been developed as a key vehicle to formulate priorities as part of the smart mix. A number of member states have asked the ILO for support in this process, and we are responding with a focus on labor rights within the broader human rights agenda. We have also observed a strong emphasis and many initiatives on human rights due diligence, as well as on single human rights issues such as child labor, forced labor, living wages, and the emergence of sectoral initiatives. The smart mix of measures, however, requires an integrated approach across policy areas. This means bringing together the human rights social agenda with the environmental and economic development agenda. For ILO, this includes working with our constituencies in policy areas such as investment, trade, and an enabling environment for sustainable enterprise development. An integrated approach also means addressing the underlying causes of human rights violations in business operations. So let's focus in on what the smart mix of measures means in the world of work. It means legislation and regulations that are aligned with international labor standards and effectively implemented through well-functioning and resourced labor administration and labor inspection. This creates a level playing field for all enterprises operating in the country and thus fair competition. It means well-functioning social dialogue mechanisms based on the human right of freedom of association and collective bargaining. It also means an enabling environment for sustainable enterprise development. Policies that stimulate the creation of quality jobs and provide social protection, and access to labor justice, including access to grievance mechanisms, settlement of industrial disputes, and remedy more broadly for victims. For many countries, these pillars of the decent work agenda is still work in progress. Yet, new areas are emerging that need urgent attention as part of the smart mix, if we want the protection of human rights in business operations to be a reality. So let me highlight a few of these and what ILO is doing to tackle the issues, and also to note that High Commissioner Volker already drew attention to several of these. So first, the extension of social protection, taking a human rights approach to universal social protection to reduce vulnerabilities for men and women. And I want to draw your attention to the fact that it is the Financing for Development PrepCom next week, where the issue of closing the coverage and financing gap for universal social protection is a key priority for us. Second, measures to reduce the growing, and in some countries dominant, informal economy to reduce the vulnerabilities of workers and their families, but also of enterprises. In 2025, the International Labour Conference General Discussion on Innovative Approaches to Formalisation will discuss case studies of what has worked as part of integrated strategies from transitions from the informal to the formal economy. The High Commissioner referred to the risks around new technologies. So we need measures to ensure that new forms of work linked to digitalization and AI do not lead to human rights abuses, but instead provide opportunities for decent work. In this context, ILO has recently launched an observatory on AI and work in the digital economy. Better sharing of the benefits of economic growth through wage settling mechanisms that allow workers and their families to move out of poverty and have a decent life and allow enterprises to thrive. And of course, measures that ensure access to remedy, a pillar of the global of the principles that have received maybe a little bit less attention. The ILO has a technical meeting in 2025 on access to labor justice for all, prevention and resolution of labor disputes. The smart mix of measures requires not only action at the national, but also action at the international level. Both the High Commissioner for Human Rights and ILO have recently launched important initiatives that bring to the forefront human rights and social justice. High Commissioner Turk already spoke about the human rights economy. ILO DG Gilbert Hungbo has launched the Global Coalition for Social Justice, bringing together the international community to foster multilateral cooperation and accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, championing social justice on a global scale. And I'm pleased to note that many of you in the room are already partners to the Global Coalition. As ILO, we commit to supporting our member states on the smart mix of measures and subsequent integrated policies, while we also call on them to effectively implement the international and national commitments they have made and become part of these international efforts to ensure human rights in business operations. I thank you for listening, and I thank you all for being here. Thank you.